watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live as we do every single day from the Newsmax studios here in downtown Manhattan. We are just getting our guests set. Hey, guys, welcome. Kiyosaki.
Nice to meet you.
Ed Siedle joins us today. These guys are the authors of this great book, Who Stole My Pension? I don't know, do we have a shot of that? Okay. So, guys, you may know a little bit of the stuff I'm going to talk to you about. My background is in securities lending. I've been a subject matter expert for many pension lawsuits over the last 20 years. We've won every single one of them. People don't realize the growing crisis with our pension system, public employee retirement system. I think 90% of the state public employee retirement systems are unfunded. They're underfunded. And the banks and the custodians are taking all these stocks that they're long and they're lending them out to the big hedge funds, charging the money, not sharing it with the pensioners, and they're letting them short the stocks that the pensioners are long. Is that a good overview or what? I mean, you guys probably know more about this than me, but pensioners are bearing the brunt of the biggest short sellers in the world, if you ask me.
Plus the taxpayer when it all collapses.
Oh yeah, well we'll have to bail. Is that one of the? I know you were an SEC attorney, and I've seen your work over the years. I'm also well aware of you guys. Myself and Patrick Byrne. You may know Patrick Byrne.
Patrick's a neighbor of
CEO
mine.
of Overstock.com. He and I went on what he called a 9-year long jihad to uncover the truths about how pensioners were getting ripped off by securities lending. The banks do these custodial lending programs where they lend out all these portfolios and they don't even share it with the pensioners who are getting killed. What are the other threats that you talk about and Who Stole My Pension?
Well, the reason there's two authors. Ted is an expert on defined benefit pensions, which are all teachers, firefighters, and school police officers. And I'm more on the defined contribution, the 401k stuff. And they're both being ripped off.
I'm with you.
But the major focus of the book is we try to explain that pensions are really very simple. There are three components to the health of a pension. They are how much money goes into the pension, how the money in the pension is managed over, let's say, 30 years, and how much money goes out of the pension in the form of benefits. And
we know who it benefits.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of attention paid.
Custodial banks, prime brokers, in particular.
But there's a lot of attention paid to element one, which is contributions into pensions, because as pensions start to fail, taxpayers say, we don't want to put any more money in. And there's a lot of attention paid to money paid out in the form of benefits, because workers say, we don't want our benefits cut. The one part of pensions that no attention is paid to is the managing of the money over time. Like you say, securities lending, custodial relations, money management.
So the government, I guess a couple of years back, passed some law that, your custodial bank had to get a third-party opinion before they could recommend a retirement system, one of their own products. And there was like a 25 basis point fee or something to get that. Trump knocked that out now, right? So that third party independent advisor isn't needed anymore.
That's above my head. Why Ted and I get together is both our fathers didn't have pensions.
Wow.
And my dad, rich dad, poor dad was poor because he ran for governor of the state of Hawaii, and they crushed his pension. That's how they get people today. And Ted's father was killed.
Yeah, my father was a gerontologist, actually. In the 1960s, he predicted that there would be this huge demographic wave as the baby boomers got old, 80 million aging hippies. And so he was really focused on what happened to people as they aged. And we were in East Africa where he was teaching, and he was also involved in the intelligence community. And he disappeared in 1971 when I was 17 years old. And so I came to the United States. At that time, his body had not been found. Social Security wouldn't pay. His life insurance wouldn't pay. His estate couldn't be probated. And so at the age of 17, I was orphaned and penniless, and began to realize how important Social Security is to so many people.
Right. So, Robert, I know you were, legendary author with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But what could people do just to make themselves? I always try to let our audience learn something. Try to make sure we're informing them, educating them. What can people do? What are a couple of questions they can ask their pension benefits manager or something to say, "Hey, am I safe?" Or what can people do to at least try to keep an eye on their pension?
Well, that's a great question, because the advantage that Ted and I had was we both had fathers who didn't have pensions. And so at young ages, we decided we would do something about it early in life. But that's the thing. And then Ted is an expert on, if you have a defined benefit, you're a teacher, firefighter,
Right.
police officer, is what you can do. And I write to the guy out there with a 401k
Small business guy who starts his own business.
who's getting screwed.
80% of the employers in America are small
But
business.
what we say in the book is that, like Mark Twain said, if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, you got to watch that basket. And so we tell you every pension lies about the fees it pays money managers. Every pension lies about its performance. Every pension lies about its funded status. So these are the types. Every pension is moving into less transparency than ever. We have less transparency in the pension system today than we did 25 years ago.
I can tell you this, Ed, and I know you know some of this stuff because we've crossed paths over the years at a lot of the places, but New York State is a defined benefit for the teachers, cops, firemen, NYSERS, right?
It's worldwide.
Yeah. But
This is
I'm
a
talking
worldwide
about
problem.
right here. I know, but right here in New York, if you're a teacher and you put your money into, the TDA, the tax deferred annuity, right? The state guarantees you 11% returns. So in the 08s, 09s, 010s, when we were minus returns, we had to come up with like 18, 9, when they had established some 6 or 7% performance, we're short 4 points. Now when we're minus, we're short all those points. Where does that money come from? They just run deficits?
Yeah, well, it has to come from taxpayers, and they run deficits, and the money's not there. That's the bottom line.
Most people don't realize that if, these big, long actuarial models, they expect how many people are going to die each year, and it's the money that's coming in now that's paying those people. To me, it's one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in history.
That's the word.
It's the one of, if not the biggest Ponzi schemes in history. And what people don't realize, it's like a run on the bank, right? If more people than their model expects show up and say, "Hey, I'm retiring today and I want my money back," the whole country could be blown up. That's how big
the world's
this is.
going to come down. This is the biggest crisis ever. And I talk to the millennials a lot of the times, and they go, they're screwed.
Yeah.
The millennials are screwed. They have student loan debt. They have no job opportunities coming out. Who's going to pay for it? The Ponzi scheme is empty.
I'm saying the kid who's been working for the last 20 years is 40 some odd years old, got, the wife, the 2 kids, the white picket fence, right? He thinks he's been paying in for 20 years and, at 55 he's going to retire and he's going to get that big boatload of money. People don't realize it's not there, right?
But people don't realize that 50% of all the state and local pensions in the United States have cut benefits in the last 10 years. So the people are not getting what they were promised, even today, and that's going to continue in the future because the financial situation is going to get worse. The good news is we have the highest number of elderly people in the history of this planet, 5 billion. The bad news is none of them have the resources to survive 20, 30 years of retirement.
And unfortunately for most of these pension plans and managers, medical advances are letting people live a little longer.
Yeah.
So they didn't expect to be paying people for as long as they are these days 30 years ago. So
And
it's
if
like
you can afford the medical.
yeah, it's like a double exponential explosion because
Correct.
people are living longer, so they got to pay them. There's not enough money coming in to pay to all these people. It's almost like we need to save the scheme, the Madoff scheme. We need a whole bunch of baby boomers to start dying too early, and then maybe they can keep it running or something. It's crazy.
And it's a global problem. We're by far not the worst country. Japan has the biggest aging population, and in the book we go through the top 25 countries, and we're not in the top 25 countries in terms of aging population.
Wow.
And I'm Japanese. They almost tell us to save money. And the government's printing money? I mean, why would you save it?
Well, of course they want you to save it because when you throw it in the till, they go out and quick spend it and they stick an IOU in there. And then, you know, when you show up one day with the IOU, there's nothing there, you know.
So
you're
Ted
like,
and I are into solutions, like you say. If you have a defined contribution, a 401k, there's things you can do. If you have a defined benefit, which Ted is an expert on, there's things you can do.
these guys are two of the foremost experts in the world on this stuff. Most people who stole my pension, you got to go out and get it, find out all the things you need to know. It's like a sausage factory, what's really going on behind the scenes with your pension money. And I talked about it in my weekly newsletter, the Monday Morning Quarterback, and we'll continue to talk about it. Thank you for being here, guys. Robert Kiyosaki, Ed Siedle. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. You go out and get Who Stole My Pension. This is the stuff you need to know. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back after this and talk about the bull market. And I'm going to call bullshit on Hillary, maybe, because there might be some bears in the woods right now. We're going to take a quick break, come back with some market talk right after this.